Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I wanted to talk for a second about this incident that occurred with President Robert Jennings at Lincoln University. Now, I want to start off by saying that I don't know I said Jenkins. I don't know if I said Jenkins. I'm going to say Jennings. I don't know Professor Jennings very well at all, actually. I know a little bit about what I've read from the incident. I watched a video, and in the video, Professor Jennings was giving a speech to young women. And you could tell that in his best effort to show support for these young women, he gave them advice that a lot of people actually would think is very good advice. I'm one of those people who felt that his advice was actually pretty good, but there are certain people who felt that what he said was sexist or offensive, etc. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I think it's important to have this conversation, because what's really going on right now is we're not having conversations about some of the bullying that's been happening, the very racist bullying that is occurring, particularly amongst extreme liberals, some extreme feminists. One good example is when you saw this catcalling video where I guess a woman felt that if a man said hello to her on the street, that somehow he should be arrested, or that somehow he was hurting her or attacking her, and they edited all the white guys out of the video. And what this is that was a very consistent effort to paint the African American male as some sort of sexist Neanderthal, barbaric idiot, or whatever the case may be. And you see that this kind of happens really all around the world, in that in the United States, because this extreme liberalism has kind of taken hold since President Obama was elected. You see African countries being vilified, countries in the Middle East being vilified because they don't march in lockstep with the United States on gay rights and all these other things. And I just want to say that I'm not going to say who's right or wrong, but I'm going to say that all sides have to be respected. And what really concerns me the most is that we're getting to the point where there are some people who feel that they have a monopoly on the truth. And I don't consider myself one of those people. I don't have a monopoly on the truth, other than the fact that I believe that everyone deserves to have an opinion and that everyone's voice should be respected. And I just don't see that happening right now. Now, to dig in a little bit deeper, one of the things that Professor Jennings said that was very good advice was he basically told young women, look, men will treat you the way you teach them to treat you. And that is true. I tell that to my daughters all the time. I've seen it happen a lot. I think what's interesting, though, is that this advice is not gender specific, really. You could say that to men. That if a man does not make himself worthy of respect, some women will have a hard time respecting him. If he does not make himself worthy of love and leadership, some women will have a hard time loving him or allowing him to lead her. So I don't think that there was anything sexist about that remark. I think it was very real. And really, a lot of young black women, and the liberals don't really understand this, because they think that fathers are, apparently they seem to believe that it's okay that the majority of black children are growing up without their dads. They don't seem to really embrace the idea of strong fatherhood. They would look at a guy like James Evans Jr. on Good Times and say, "Oh, he's a sexist," or something's wrong with that man. That man is not he's a bad person." And they would rather see Florida and JJ and the whole Good Times cast without the father than to see them with the father. And that's pretty much what they're doing when they're constantly condoning this idea that women don't really need men, and that black feminists need to attack black men and emasculate them at every turn. And I just think that's wrong. So I'm not in support of extreme feminism. I am in support of women's rights. I was raised and supported by so many loving women who made me everything that I am right now. And to this day, I would never this whole imagery of men oppressing women and hurting them. I would never hurt the women who have built me up and lifted me up to become the man that I am today. So if you want to call me a sexist for the way I treat the women in my life, then I say you can go to hell. So anyway, let's move on. So the advice. I don't think it was that bad. Let's begin from the basics. We all know that sexual assault is wrong. We all know that rape is wrong. We all know that rapists should be punished. Let's just get that off the table right now, and not even go into that space where somehow someone might interpret opposition to mean that you're advocating for sexual assault, or that you're advocating that men should be allowed to get away with sexual assault. That's wrong. We know that. Now, here's what's important, though. Justice must be preserved. One of the things that I was really disturbed by was the fact that there was such a feminist black some of these were extreme black feminists backlash when someone even mentions the fact that sometimes rape allegations are either fuzzy or they're incorrect. That sometimes there are false accusations that are made, and it doesn't happen just one in every 10,000 times. It happens on a pretty consistent basis. It doesn't mean it happens the majority of the time. It doesn't mean it happens more than, say, 3, 4, 5% of the time. I think the real academic literature puts the number under 10%. Okay. And I'm talking about real literature, not this BS that you read in these liberal blogs by, with these unscientific studies that pretty much have this stupid statistic that's being parakeeted by certain feminist liars that says that the odds of a man being falsely accused of rape is, I think, lower than the odds of being struck by lightning. If you ever see somebody repeat that stat, I want you to correct them and tell them that that's just not true. That was an unscientific study. It wasn't even a study. It was an ad hoc calculation by somebody who had an agenda when they released it. There's another feminist, and again, this is a person, a feminist, who did the study. I can't remember the person's name. I gotta look it up. But basically, they give accurate numbers that are far higher than what was being reported on this blog. So the bottom line is that some people are willing to lie in order to get their agenda forward, and that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. Because right now we're in an era of what I would almost compare to McCarthyism. McCarthyism was a period where Americans were so afraid of communists that they were accusing anybody of being a communist, damn near. I mean, anybody who supported the civil rights movement was accused of being a communist. Anybody who disagreed with the government was accused of being a communist. Anybody who who fought for the people was accused of being a communist. And it became a very short-lived era in which there was just sheer terror. I think that we're kind of in an era like that now. I mean, you see a lot of oppression occurring in the Christian church, where you've got Christian ministers who say, look, I believe that marriage is between one man and one woman. I'm not going to fight a gay person. I'm not going to hate a gay person. A gay person can come to my church. I will love them like everybody else, but I am not going to condone homosexuality because it deviates from what I read in the Bible. And I think they have that same position when it comes to adultery or a lot of other things they perceive to be sins. But there are people who literally believe that those pastors should still be punished and maybe fined or lose their businesses or lose their churches because they will not go in lockstep with the liberal agenda. And my argument is that when you are to the point where you are willing to destroy anybody who disagrees with you, then you're not a freedom fighter. You're a terrorist at that point. When you are at a point where the other side of the conversation, the other opinions don't even deserve to exist, you're no better than ISIS and some of these terrorist groups that pretty much say anybody who doesn't agree with us needs to be eliminated. And I think that that's unhealthy. I know when I see scholars do it, I say, look, you're not being a scholar right now because you're not even willing to have the debate. You want to protest, march, and fight and destroy things, but you're not willing to have a conversation with other intelligent people who might have a point of view that differs from your own. And I think that that's ultimately incorrect. Now let's dig a little bit deeper into the false accusations thing. Anybody who doesn't believe that black men are regularly, especially black men, aren't regularly falsely accused of rape needs to really look at the media and see how many men are released every year for rape allegations that turned out to not be true when they did a DNA test later on or whatever. And what I warn brothers, and this actually helps everyone, this doesn't just help them, I tell them, be very intelligent and responsible about who you sleep with, because if you get accused of rape, even if the odds are small, if you get falsely accused of rape in either an ambiguous situation or a situation that someone else contrived, then you're kind of done. The accusation alone is going to ruin your reputation. You're probably going to get locked up and sent to jail. They're probably going to convict you, a big black ass. Excuse my French. You're a big black man. This is what Brian Banks out in L.A., who was falsely accused of rape, this is what his attorney told him. His attorney told him that, look, you need to take the plea deal, because if you don't, you're going to get sent to prison for a very long time because you're a big black man and no one's going to believe that you're innocent. And if you don't think this happens all the time on a regular basis, then you are crazy and you are a racist for not even allowing this conversation to happen. If you somehow think that we're supposed to be silent while all these black men are going to prison for things they didn't do, then you have no place in the space of free thought. Let's move on. Another thing I was thinking about that Dr. Jennings said that I don't have a problem with at all was he told the ladies, look, rape allegations are a very serious thing, And he said, if I saw the video correct, if I interpreted it correctly, he said that they'd investigated rape allegations on their campus, and there were some situations where, when they asked the hard questions, it turned out that it was a matter of things did not going in the young lady's favor, and she decided to accuse him of rape. I know I've seen this kind of thing up close, because this actually happened to a very good friend of mine. The only reason I know, again, and now mind you, the whole time that he was faced with these charges, I didn't assume that he was innocent or guilty. I didn't say either one in public. But once I found out the details, when I found out that she had accused 5 other men of rape in order to get money, that's when I said, okay, I think that there's a good chance he didn't do it. But here's the other thing: there was no physical evidence. So what's so interesting to me is that we're now at a point, and this is really a warning to anybody that has a young black man in your family that you care about, or if you are a black man, you can get locked up without any physical evidence. Just someone's mere allegation is enough to destroy you. When my friend got accused of rape, they went to his job, they put him in handcuffs in front of all of his fellow employees, and it was across the street from his house. So everybody in his neighborhood saw him being taken away in handcuffs. Right there, if you're a black man, you're done at that point. I mean, at that point, people are going to assume that you must have done something illegal. After that, he was in jail for 3 weeks. He had to drop out of school. He had to give up every penny that he had in order to pay his legal fees. And finally, he hired a private investigator, and that's when they found out that she had falsely accused other men of raping her in the past, and that's when they just let him go with an apology. But he wasn't able to sue. He wasn't able to send her to prison. I think she should have been sent to prison. So the justice in that case was just so unbalanced. I remember being a young student and thinking, man, this is unbelievable. But the interesting thing too was, I did say to my friend, I said, you know what, man, I think the one thing I had to fault you on is the fact that you are sleeping with women that you do not know. And so I consistently warn young men, be intelligent about where you plant your seed, who you lay down with. You can't just lay down with women you don't know, because you don't know what's going on in their head. You don't know what can happen to you if things go wrong. One thing Dr. Jennings brought up that I didn't disagree with at all was, he told the young women, avoid situations where there's ambiguity. And that means, don't go to the frat house and get sloppy drunk and then pass out and then try to figure out if you got raped, or if you consented, and changed your mind, or if all these other things happened. The fact is that, and this is another reason why I don't advocate for drinking on college campuses. I think campuses don't take it seriously enough, because I've been on college campuses for 25 years, and I have seen countless students get raped under the influence of alcohol. I've seen people go to prison under the influence of alcohol. I've seen people get in drunk driving accidents under the influence. I've seen people die of alcohol poisoning. I mean, I've seen all these things happen on campus. It happens every year, and universities don't warn the students enough, and the students think that drinking is just a part of college life. Well, what I tell my daughters is, look, when you're in a situation where you don't know who you are, or what's going on, or who's around you, and you can't remember what happened, it is going to be embarrassing to have to answer all those questions in the event that something bad happens to you. Now, mind you, it doesn't mean that rapists are justified in any way for what they did. The rapists, remember, those are the bad guys. When men talk about this, the men that are brave enough to have these conversations are not the rapists. These are the men who also dislike the rapists too. We're all on the same side. The rapists are over there. They're not listening to this conversation. So what pisses me off the most, excuse my French, sometimes I talk like that, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that's just me being real. What angers me the most is when I'll hear somebody say, we shouldn't be warning, so this is again this stupid political statement, we shouldn't be warning young ladies to avoid being raped, we should be telling boys not to rape. Okay, well, how about we do both? Boys, don't rape. That's what I would tell them. Young men, don't. If you rape a woman, you're the lowest scumbag imaginable. I have no respect for you. I will not support you. I will not defend you because you are a rapist. Okay, that's done. Now, do you think that that's going to make every rapist stop raping? Do you think that sexual assault will never occur because I just told every man on earth not to rape? No, it's still going to happen. The bad guys are still out there. People need to be warned to avoid the bad guys. Don't make yourself a passive victim without accountability, because then you will be victimized. And I don't care how politically slanted the world is, none of that is going to help you if you are a rape victim and you are in a situation that could have been avoided. So If I go through a dark alley and I get mugged or robbed or whatever, I don't mind somebody telling me, "Look, boys, you got a pocket full of money in a business suit. You ain't got no business walking through South Central in the middle of a dark alley. Bad things can happen to you." I want people to tell me that so that I know not to make that bad decision that's going to put me in a bad situation. Does that mean that people who rob me don't deserve to be prosecuted? Absolutely not. They certainly deserve to be prosecuted, but their prosecution won't mean a whole lot to me if they blew my brains out and took my money. Okay, here's what I'm saying here. I think that we've gotten to the point where somehow we have concluded that any accountability whatsoever on the part of some disadvantaged group is somehow wrong. That somehow when we ask women to be accountable and responsible as they expect men to be, that something's wrong with that. When we tell a young woman, don't go to the frat house and get drunk off your ass, or don't put yourself in certain situations because bad things can happen, or if everybody's drunk, why should the boy be accountable for what he did when the girl's not accountable at all for what she did? Because when everybody's drunk, people make bad decisions. We know that. Excuse me. People make bad decisions when they're drunk. So if we're going to somehow conclude, and in fact, there are people that go as extreme as saying that if a man and a woman are both drunk, and the man has sex with the woman while they're drunk, then he was wrong to have sex with a woman who was under the influence. And I think that's stupid. Because if he's a rapist, then she's a rapist too. Because if she agreed to have sex with him and he agreed to have sex with her, everybody agreed to have sex with each other. So I just say that the best ways to simplify these conversations is, number one, warn your kids about drugs and alcohol and the dangers of it. I think that alcohol needs to be eliminated from college campuses, period. Number two, let's have conversations about accountability. Warn your daughters. Let your daughters watch, President Jennings' speech. There's nothing sexist about it. Is the man perfect in every way? I doubt it. Nobody is. But the fact is that we can't live in a world where people are afraid to have the other side of the conversation. And that actually leads to my third point. Black people, we got to stop being scared. When these extreme liberals, because I think a lot of black people feel oppressed by liberals constantly telling you, you need to catch up with us. You need to be like us. You need to accept this the way we accept it. You need to act the way we act. And you see that happen where a lot of black folks who want money from white people pretty much act the way white people tell them to behave. If I'm a professor at Duke University or Harvard or whatever, I'm in a very liberal environment, and I know that I'm going to be punished for advocating for black men in a really authentic way. And when advocacy for black men means standing up to white folks, you will be punished for that. That's just a fact. 9 times out of 10, you'll be punished for that. Unless you're just real diplomatic and real delicate, white folks ain't gonna hear that. They're not gonna have you be a strong, empowered black man truly advocating against white racism in that kind of environment. Same thing is true when it comes to some of this extreme feminist agenda and this extreme gay agenda. It doesn't mean that women don't deserve equal rights. Anybody who grew up in a black family knew that in most cases the mother had the power anyway. So this extreme black feminism doesn't even make any sense to a lot of brothers. We're like, wait a minute, we're already oppressed by the rest of the world. We have the highest unemployment rate imaginable. We're the ones being killed. We're out here being incarcerated left and right. What in the hell makes you think that we're oppressing you? It makes no sense. It doesn't just come down to a fight against oppression. It's actually a form of abuse. It's you piling on with the white man sort of behind you, giving you this power to further destroy and emasculate the black man. Because understand, white folks have all the money. They have all the power. They have the biggest media outlets. So they allow, for example, you look at the way Professor Jennings, a guy who has worked his whole life to become an accomplished black man, the way he is being dismantled and emasculated. And look at most of the media outlets that are attacking him. These are white, liberal media outlets that are designed to destroy and emasculate black men. That's why the ownership of black media is so important. And understand this: most of the media outlets that you think are black owned are not owned by black people. They're not. They're not designed to serve black people. They're there to sell black people. To sell black people to advertisers. Gather up a big black audience. You sell them to advertisers. You make money. And I'm not calling them out. I'm not attacking them. But I'm saying, like, so when you read stuff, extreme liberal stuff from certain outlets, maybe you talk about the Grill, the Root, or BET, or whatever. You understand? You got to look at who the true puppet master is. The puppet master is the white guy in the corporate boardroom. It's not the black managing editor or the black overseer of the plantation. So again, I'm not disrespecting these outlets. I think that some of what they do, a lot of what they do, is actually very beneficial. But at the same time, we got to really understand what's really happening here, what the dynamic is, and that and realize that black people, to some extent, we've become imperialized, where there are other people who have a vested interest in controlling our thinking. They do it through hip hop music all the time. Don't Most black people I know don't want to hear black men rapping about being high and drunk all the time and womanizing and killing each other. Don't Black people don't want to hear that crap. Some black people do. Some black people have been brainwashed and conditioned to enjoy it. But a lot of intelligent, thoughtful black people who engage in critical thinking are listening to this like, who put this up? I mean, who even agreed to put this on? So the fact is that we have to learn to think for ourselves, and I encourage you to not be afraid. If you and I'm gonna let you, I think you should watch Dr. Jennings' video. I'm open to people who interpret it differently from the way I interpret it, but at the same time, while you don't have to agree with me, you need to think for yourself. And don't be afraid. Don't let these people bully you, because believe me, they are some terrorists, and they will come at you with the fury of God. And I'm gonna tell you this black man ain't backing down. That's it. I'm tired of folding and bending to this crap. I fold and bend to the truth, and that's it. Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Thank you. God bless. Take care. I'm gone. Peace.